It is good to be here with you this morning at possibly our last service in this gym. But maybe not. Talk about that later. But this week, so in preparation for this week, I came across a story called The Monkey's Paw. I don't know if you've heard of The Monkey's Paw before. I had not. It's from the 1900s. 1902, I think, is when it was published. And it's a story following Mr. and Mrs. White. And they're in England, and they have an adult son named Herbert who lives in their house with them. And they start to feel discontent with their life. And they're feeling discontent, and you just hear them talk about why the husband, especially Mr. White, that maybe he could have gone and done greater things. But while this is happening, all of a sudden, an old friend, Sergeant Major Morris, comes back from being stationed in India, and he comes to visit his friend, and he sits down and he tells them a story of something that happened to him while he was in India, and he pulls out a little talisman that's a monkey's paw. And when he pulls it out, he says that this talisman has been granted the ability to give 3 different people the ability to grant 3 wishes. And when they grant 3 wishes, they'll come true. And he's telling them, as he was the second person to start making these wishes on this talisman. But he says, but he warns them, saying, but the monkey paw, you can make these wishes, but it's going to exact a terrible price that you don't know about. And so he says, I would warn you, throw this thing away. Do not do it. Well, Mr. and Mrs. White's adult son, Herbert, who lives there, Herbert says, well, why don't we just not ask for something big? Why don't we just ask for enough to make us content? And so he says, why don't you just ask for 200 pounds, which is some amount of European money, and just give us 200 pounds, and that will be enough for us. And so they think it's all kind of a joke, and so Mr. White takes the monkey's paw, and he makes the wish. I wish for 200 pounds. And he feels it move in his hands, and he freaks out a little bit. And then they look around, and nothing happens. And so they think it's all one big joke. So they go to bed, and the next day, they're walking around like, maybe we're going to get 200 pounds, maybe we're not. And Herbert, the adult son, goes off to work at the factory, and they're walking around just thinking like, okay, maybe something's going to happen, and then nothing happens. But then all of a sudden, they look outside, and there's a really well-dressed man who's like outside their house, and he keeps going back and forth like he's going to come in, and then he's not. And finally he does, and he comes up to the house. And he comes up to them, and he says, Mr. and Mrs. White, I have some really unfortunate news for you. There was an accident at the factory today, and your son Herbert is dead. And obviously, they're grief-stricken, and they say, well, also, and I hate to be the one to bear this to you, but the company is not going to take any liability for this. And so they're like, they're obviously more upset. And they say, but we wanted to make sure that you weren't left alone. And then he drops a satchel of money on the table, and they say, how much is in there? And he says, 200 pounds. And they freak out, right? Mr. and Mrs. White freak out. So the funeral goes by, and after the funeral happens, Mrs. White has an idea. She says, Mr. White, my son is dead. You need to use the monkey's paw and bring him back. And she convinces him to do it. And he makes the second wish for the son to come back. And then what happens is that night, all of a sudden, they hear scratching on the door. And Mr. White knows what it is. It's his 10-day-old rotted son who is there, and he's freaking out. And the wife goes down and tries to open the door. But in the last minute, Mr. White grabs the monkey paw and wishes him to remain dead. She opens the door, a wind blows through, and you're left with this scene of the wife on the ground crying, the husband crying upstairs, and their son lost. And that's how the story ends. That was pleasant. Well, I tell you this story because it's a story about a counterfeit blessing, something that comes and says, I promise you to give you any wish that you want, but it doesn't promise you that it will exact a terrible price for you to get it. And I'm here to tell you that that story is true. What I just told you is a true story. Now, maybe not the specific details of the story. None of that has probably ever happened. but the principles of the story is true, and it's a story that goes to the heart because it affects every single one of us today. Because I'm here to tell you that there is a talisman, just like the monkey's paw, that is whispering in our ear every day, make the wish that you want. And it does not tell you what it's going to take from you. This talisman is sin. It comes and sin whispers in our ears and it says, make the wish that you desire. We can get you what you're looking for. We can give you what you want, but it does not tell you what it's going to remove, what it's going to rip away from you in the process. I believe the purpose of our text this morning is to warn us about our own monkey's paw. Here in our text, we see the opposite of the fear of the Lord. Instead of fearing the Lord being the beginning of wisdom, now the mother and father are going to instruct their son on what it is to not fear the Lord, what it looks like when those who don't fear the Lord, what they're going to do. And what they're going to do is there's going to be these sinners that come in to try to entice you, try to pull you away and give you these counterfeit blessings. We will give you these blessings if you will just follow us. However, you can read the text, and I was reading the text this week, and I thought, this is so far-fetched, isn't it? Hyperbole. I don't know about you, but I have never once had someone come to me and say, come with us, let us lie and wait for blood. Has anybody tried to entice you that way? Maybe, but no one's enticed me that way. No one has ever come up to me and said, hey, do you want to ambush the innocent without cause with us? No one has ever said that to me before. That doesn't feel like it's all that enticing, honestly. When we read this, it's like, that doesn't feel like it's really offering us a whole lot. However, we have to understand that in wisdom literature like this, what's happening is the speaker isn't telling you what the people will actually say. He's telling you what they actually mean when they're tricking you. So no sinner's coming up, hey, do you want to lie in wait for some blood and kill some people and take all their money? Very few people are tricking you like that. But you know what they are doing? They are saying, hey, do you want to come follow us? Do you want to do this thing? It's not so bad. And then we can get this. And the author is trying to tell us, even though that's not what they're saying, here's what they mean. Let us lie and wait for blood. And what they're actually doing, this happens a lot in the Proverbs, is he'll take an idea or a group, and then he'll personify it into something else. So like in the very next chapter, you're going to see, or still in chapter 1, but in the very next section in verse 20, it says, wisdom cries aloud in the street. So wisdom is this idea, and it's being personified as a kind of a person. And the same thing that's happening here is that this idea of sin and the enticement of sin is being personified in this conversation. This isn't the exact conversation that will happen. So if you go around and say, well, I can do this because nobody came up to me and said this, that's not what's happening here. What's happening is the idea of sin coming in behind the scenes and enticing you through these different means is being personified in this conversation. That's what's happening in this text. And the principles behind the teaching, not this exact scenario, is that there is going to be sin and people who love sin who come into our lives, and they're going to offer us a monkey's paw, a counterfeit blessing. They're going to come and say, hey, all you've got to do is this small thing right here. All you've got to do is take this step right here. Come with us in this direction, and we'll give you exactly what you want. And in the moment, it's going to look like a blessing. It's going to sound like a blessing. And it's going to cost you way more than you thought it would. And I think we would all recognize the call of sin in our life. No one in here is immune from this. Job, addiction, desires you gave into, items that you thought you wanted that later exacted a toll. We've all been there. We all know what that feels like. And so what this text is for us this morning, what it is doing for us this morning, is Solomon is trying to lay out the pattern of sin that everybody will face. The pattern of sin that happens in our life that we will all face, that we would recognize it and we would flee from it. And specifically, here is the pattern of sin. First, sin comes into your life and it seeks to persuade you. And then it seeks to destroy you. It persuades you and then it destroys you. First, let's see that sin persuades you. It tries to persuade you. Look at verse 10. It says, my son, if sinners entice you, do not consent. The idea is this. There's an enticement. There's a real persuasion that happens with sin. We are doing a disservice in the world when we try to create this facade that sin doesn't actually affect us, that it doesn't look good. No, it does look good. People wouldn't sin if it didn't look good. We wouldn't go to it if it didn't actually offer us things. And we have to understand that sin is really making a true and genuine offer to us to give us something. If it didn't give you anything, you wouldn't do it. But it is making a real offer. Specifically, in our text, there are 3 offers. The first one is excitement. Sin offers excitement. Look at verse 11. If they say, come with us, let us lie and wait for blood. Let us ambush the innocent without reason. Like Sheol, let us swallow them alive, and whole like those who go down to the pit. Now, here's what's happening in this text. It's this idea, let us lie and wait in ambush. The idea that's happening there is, I don't know if you played sports. I use sports analogy a lot. Maybe you sung or danced or did other nerdy things in high school. I'm just kidding. I was in the choir too. Okay, but like before a big show or something like that, you know the anticipation, the waiting when you got up there, kind of the excitement before the thrill of the game or whatever it is. That's the idea. Let us lie and wait in ambush. Let us be excited. Let us wait. Let us have this eager anticipation of the sin that's going to happen. Here is the thing. Sin promises you excitement. And it usually delivers. Sin is fun. It is a thrill. And this is true of most sin, right? The teenager who sneaks out of their house, gets into mischief. The sexual escapade. The grocery store theft. The gossip with friends, right? Listen, we all know girls love the bad boys, right? At least that's what I was told in high school. Why? They like edgy. We like things that are edgy. We like the excitement. We like the thrill. Wanderlust, or whatever people are saying on Instagram now. I think that was like 15 years ago. We like the edgy stuff. We like the excitement. If it wasn't a thrill, you wouldn't do it. Sin makes a promise to all of you, each and every day, of excitement. But it doesn't just offer excitement. It also offers easy gain. Look at verse 13. We shall find all precious goods. We shall fill our house with plunder. Here the offer is quick money. The idea is this. We can jump the ladder. We can get what you want. You don't have to work at it very hard to get there. And it's so funny because sin attacks us at one of the areas that we are the weakest to get it. I've used this before, but I think it just really struck with me, and it's so valuable. I remember I was at some sort of conference, and there was an older businessman who came up, and he was talking about success and how he got to where he was. And his grandson came to him and said, Grandpa, I want the life that you have. You know, I want a big house. I want to be able to rest like you do. Like, I want to go to work here. I want to boss people around. Like, how did I get here? How do I get that? And he goes, well, the way you get there is that you wake up tomorrow and you go to work and you work really hard and then you do it for 50 more years. And then you can get where I am. But like, we don't want that, right? We don't want the plodding hard work that comes with, I mean, even just me being in pastoral ministry, pastors, we don't want to start with churches of, like most pastors, you don't want to start with a church of 15, 20 people. You want to start with 1,000, 500. Like, who wants to start at the bottom? The bottom. I say that. But we do that in our own Christian life. Like, we don't in our jobs and our work. It's like, wait, you're telling me that I could work for 50 years and have this, or I could have it tomorrow. Sin is making an offer. Hey, here's some excitement, here's some fun for you, and you'll get what you actually want. And you'll get it so much quicker if you come my way. It's like the lottery, right? It's like the lottery. My grandma, I know I'm in a Baptist church, but I'm going to talk about gambling, okay? My grandma did the slots. I was born in Vegas, and I spent a lot of time at casinos growing up, okay? So hopefully you're all still okay with me being your pastor. But while there, my grandma would go, and she would I would go to like the area where kids were allowed to be or something. Casinos have really great buffets. And I would eat the buffet, and my grandma would go play some slots. And then but the slots, I mean, they trick you, don't they? It gives you just, I promise you quick, easy money. And then it cashes in so often, right? Just enough to keep you involved with it. It's like the lottery. Like, I'm going to get the taste of winning really quick. And it gives you a taste of the real thing. It gives you a taste of the real intimacy of marriage. And you can have that real taste, but you can have it online and not have to work so hard. And we'll give it to you. We'll give you a taste of friendship and being honored by your peers. All you got to do is slander these other people who aren't around. We'll give you a taste of the glory, and we'll give you a taste of the feeling good about yourself. We'll give you a taste of these things, and we'll give them to you quickly. That's what sin is promising. I'll give it to you right now. Because what sin does, and what we don't understand about sin, is we think that sin is just this really bad thing that we are just going to be able to obviously identify. But sin is addressing a real problem that we have. It is addressing it. It's trying to give us something that is good. What is money and taking care of yourself and living in comfort a bad thing? No, it's a good thing. Why wouldn't we want that? And so sin doesn't come in and say, hey, here's a really bad thing. It says, here's a really good thing, and I'll give it to you really easily. Sex and companionship is a good thing. And sin comes in and says, okay, let me give you that good thing like this, really easily, no work. Sin is promising us so many of these things. It's just promising us the easy way. It's promising to restore all the things that we know are broken about us. Sin promises to address. And it promises to do it way easier. Easy gain. But not only that, so excitement, easy gain, and it also offers companionship. Look at verse 14. Throw in your lot among us. We will have one purse. We're going to be together. We'll do this together. This is ancient peer pressure right here. And here, in my time at Bethel, what I've realized is that every single person struggles with belonging or community. It's getting humorous at this point, the amount of people that come up to me and say, I'm just not really sure I fit in or I have community. And then it's like everyone else seems to have community and I'm the only one who doesn't. And it's like, oh my gosh, because literally every other person in this church has said the same thing. It's like everyone is saying that. Everyone thinks they're the only one who's struggling with friendship. Everyone else has it and I don't. And one of our greatest and deepest needs is companionship, that we feel like we belong. Everyone feels like the outcast. And there's this victim thing where it's like, well, I'm the outcast, I'm really the cool guy. And it's just this psychological torture we put ourselves in, and then we put everybody else in thinking that we are this people that don't have companions, like we don't have friends and everyone else does. And then that is one of the deepest fears of human nature, is that we don't belong. And so you know what sin does? It comes in and says, well, if you come with me, I'll give you friends. That's what's happening here. You can be a part, not only will you have excitement, not only would I fulfill the desires that you are needing fulfilled, I'll put you in a group of other people who are at the same place you are, and you'll have companions. We'll all do this together. That's what's being promised here. It hits us where we are weakest. Listen, teenagers are leaving the Christian faith, and adults are leaving the Christian faith, and very infrequently does it have anything to do with logical doctrinal arguments. Sin comes, and it promises them something better than Christianity has. So they think. They can get what they want quicker, and it gives them a group of people who they think will be their friends forever. That's what's happening. And that's what's happening to all of us. And that is what sin is promising all of us. And just like the monkey's paw, you can have what you wish for. All of the things that you want most in your life, you can have them. And as Christians, we rail on sin and we underestimate its power in our own life. He is bringing this up here because we are not immune to this pressure, this offer. Do not underestimate the power of sin in your life. Do not underestimate what Satan and the devil, the sinner, can do for us. He is making real promises. When he goes and tempts Jesus, he is tempting Jesus with things that at some capacity he can really give Jesus. Or else they wouldn't even be temptations. He can really give those things. Sin can really give you these things. That's why they're so dangerous. And so understand this. Here's the pattern. Sin persuades you, but then you have to understand this. But then it destroys you. Sin will give you what you want. It will get you everything it promised you. Like the monkey's paw, you will have the 200 pounds. But you don't realize it'll cost the life of your son in the process. It doesn't tell you that there's a catch. And in our text, we see that it destroys two things. First and foremost, it destroys others. Sin always destroys other people. Ask yourself this, how does one get the excitement, the gain, and the companionship? They have to lie in wait for the blood of somebody else. And I believe this to be true. We, in our culture, believe that this is kind of the American way, 250 years. I love America. 4th of July was great. But there's this lie in American culture that my sin and what I do in my own home is my own private matter. And if I have vices or whatever, then they just affect me. They don't affect anybody else. And you have to understand, our text is telling us that sin, that's a lie of sin. Sin always costs something from somebody else. Always. If you want the excitement, the gain, and the companionship, it will take it from somebody else. This is the pattern of the Bible. Cain feels like he is not getting the praise from God that he should. And he listens to the desires of sin. Instead of himself changing and doing the hard work to offer a good offering, what does he do? He goes and kills his brother. Joseph's brothers do the same thing, and his brothers then have to go and get rid of Joseph. Herod wants to hold on, his pride wants to hold on to his crown. So what does he do? He goes and kills the babies. The Pharisees who would have the most individualistic sin that we can think of, right? It's just their own pride. Their sin is their own pride. Their sin is their own arrogance. So what if they're arrogant? So what if they're the legalist? How does that affect anyone else? Because when they're a legalist, what do they have to do? They have to make everybody else one too. And then what do? They use the law as a bludgeon to beat down other people. If you want to understand whether what you're doing is sin or not, please understand that, or please think about how it is twisting and warping your view of other people. If you have the sin of pride, you know what it will require? It will require you putting other people down lower so you can feel higher. If you are struggling with pride, you know what you're going to do? You're going to buy into conversations negatively about people behind their back. You're going to hurt other people. You're going to tear other people down because that's the only way you can be built up. Sexual immorality, pornography. I mean, you want to think about sin that is destroying other people? I'm just doing it in my home. It doesn't affect anyone but me. No, it manipulates and takes a whole gender and tells that gender that their purpose is this. It affects the way you look at them and see them. It propitiates sex slavery in our culture. It's disgusting. And it's not something that you're just doing in your home by yourself. You're killing other people. And we're okay with it because sin has told us, well, you can have friends and you can have the companionship that you want. You're destroying lives with this sin. Greed. People are just speed bumps for you. Your house is your personal space. It's not for others. You don't open it up to other people. Parents use children to validate that they need to feel important for the work that they've done, as if it was about them in the first place. Spouses use one another, coworkers, bosses. We are all just using one another as tools. And it's because sin is telling us that it's okay. but we're destroying the lives of others. This is why Jesus is so furious at the Pharisees. This is what the whole Sermon on the Mount is about. Because if Christians think we're immune to it, we use the Bible the same way the Pharisees do. We put burdens on the backs of people that they can't bear. We tear down others' Christianity all in a way so we can feel superior about ours. People are tools and cogs in our machines to build ourselves up, and it's sin whispering in our ear. I'll give you a true community at this church as long as you get behind talking negatively about others like this. As long as you use the Bible like this. The talisman promising us things that it can't give. But it doesn't just destroy others, it also destroys yourself. Look back at the text with me, verse 15. My son, do not walk in the way with them. Hold back your foot from their paths, for their feet run to evil, and they make haste to shed blood. For in vain is a net spread in the sight of any bird, but these men lie in wait for their own blood. They set an ambush for their own lives. I was trying to figure out the best way pastorally I can say what this text is saying, like without vulgarity, because the intensity of what he's saying here seems like the only appropriate word would be vulgarities, but I'm not going to say it. So stupid used to be a bad word. I don't think it is anymore, but the whole point of this text is this. Don't do it because those people are stupid. Like that's what the text is saying. They are so dumb for falling into the sin because they are going to end up killing themselves. In vain is a net spread before a bird. It's like even a dumb bird, if you throw a net in front of it, will fly away. But these guys throw a net in front of themselves, throw the net and say, that won't do anything, and then they walk on it. Like that's what's happening in the text. They're foolish. And this is the pattern of sin that I think that he's trying to get at. And you've noticed this. What happens is, and this is the enticement. Right? And he's giving us the extreme here, but here's the enticement. You sin, you feel the excitement, you get away with it, maybe develop some friends in the process. And then what happens? You feel a little bit more emboldened. Or the kick just doesn't give you as much as it did. So you have to do more, right? And then over time, you become hardened and dead to the sin. And then you walk right into its trap, and it takes your life. The slot machine, it gives you a little bit. Ooh, I can win some more. I can give some more. And then you wake up the next day with no money. The alcoholic who's taking a drink, nah, it didn't kill you today. But you fool, you're laying the net for your own death. What are you doing? Talking about people this way, you are laying the net for your own death. It's destroying your own soul. It will kill you. And so here is the parent's plea. Do not consent. When the talisman whispers, do not consent. You're going to kill yourself. However, if this hasn't been sober enough for you, there is a major problem with this text. And that is, if you have been reading this as I have this morning, every single person in this room has already consented. Verse 19, such are the ways of everyone who is greedy for unjust gain. It takes away the life of its possessor. Can anyone in here tell me honestly that they have never been greedy for unjust pleasure? They have never said yes to the whisper of the talisman? And if you're thinking, well, I haven't said yes, well, Romans 3 disagrees. No one is righteous, no, not one. No one understands. No one seeks for God. All have turned aside, together have become worthless. No one does good, not even one. Their throat is an open grave. They use their tongues to deceive. The venom of asps is under their lips. Their mouth is full of curses and bitterness. Their feet are swift to shed blood. In their paths are ruin and misery. And the way of peace they have not known. And there is no fear of God before their eyes. The problem with what I have just preached to us this morning is that everyone in this room has already disregarded the parent's plea. Do not consent. And we have all willingly consented. Maybe even on the way to church this morning. You have caved to sin. You have given into the temptation. You have used others. You have seen relationships destroyed, and a little bit of you has died. The monkey's paw came. You've made your wish, and you know you have to reap the consequences of it. But thankfully, the book of Proverbs is not all we have. And the book of Proverbs is leading us to something way better. That we have a great problem, that we have all consented, but we have an even greater solution that God has given us. That Jesus Christ, the Son of God, has come into the earth as the wisdom of God. He lived a perfect life without sin. And the destruction that I deserve is put on him. And he reverses everything that we have studied in this text so far. He comes and he goes up before the people and he makes them a more beautiful offer than sin does. Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart. Follow me, and I will lead you to the paths of eternal life. I will make you a child of God, and you can come with me. And he says, if you would follow me, I will give you more excitement and joy and pleasure than you could have ever had before. I will give you true companionship that you've been longing for all of your life. And he comes and says, not only will I make you a better offer than sin, but I will also lead you to life. What I do will be life-giving rather than destructive. Because sin, what does sin do? Sin comes into you and it whispers that you need these things, and so you have to use others in order to get it. You have to destroy others. And Jesus comes and he whispers to us, why don't, instead of you using others to get more glory in my Father's house, he says, why don't you use me? Use me. Use my death. Put your sin on me. I will take the load. Don't use others to raise yourself up. Don't use others' shoulders to get up there. Use mine. And he willingly lets himself be used by us that we would get more glory. And then he comes and he says, no. If you want this excitement and this pleasure and this companionship that I offer you, instead of me telling you that you're going to lose your life, you do lose your life, he says, I'm going to give you eternal life. I'm going to raise you from the dead. I'm going to take the destruction that sin caused and I'm going to reverse it and give you life. The Proverbs condemn us, but Jesus gives us life and a chance to flee from these. Because before in our nature, we could not do anything but consent. But now in Christ, we do not have to consent anymore. We were trapped with the gang. We were enslaved to them, and he gave us a way out. And so with this in mind, what do we do? What do we do? How do we go forward with this good news that Jesus, he is the only one who has lived out this text. He's the only one who didn't consent. We already have, but he hasn't. So what do we do? Well, look back at our text, Proverbs chapter 1, verse 8. It says, hear, my son, your father's instruction, and forsake not your mother's teaching, for they are a graceful garland for your head and pendants for your neck. Okay. All right, I'm going to try to put this big idea, I'm going to try to bring it, simplify it for us. So a garland or a pendant, especially in Hebrew times, but all throughout the Bible, the garland is like a wreath or crown of glory that was put on you. So if you won a victory, you would wear the garland, and you would wear it around, and people would be like, this guy's awesome. And then the pendant was actually a thing that was it was also for glory and honor, but it also was to hold instructions on it, like you see the Israelites to wear pendants around their neck, and it gave them the way, like it showed them instructions so they knew which way to go. Well, all of us are, we don't deserve the crown. None of us have obeyed, and we can't take this crown on us. But then what happens in the New Testament is, what is the promise that Jesus gives us? He promises us that when we follow him, he will give us a crown of glory. He will put himself over us. So in following Jesus, what happens? In following Jesus, we get the garland for our head. We get the pendant on our neck. He is the way, the truth, the life. His path is the one to life, not the path of destruction. But even more than that, it gives us the power, the instruction, the pendant, to no longer consent to the sinner, to the sin when it comes. And here's what's even more beautiful, and this is what it does for us. I don't know if it's more beautiful, but it's amazing when you think about it. Because the idea was in Roman society, in ancient Hebrew society, they do the same thing. They would crown a victor with a garland on their head, and they would do this because then they would honor this person and put them up. And when they put up this person, it would tell everyone else in the community, this is what's good, right? This is what's virtuous. So you would see the person with the garland, and then the idea was I want to be like that person. Because the idea was the garland was actually attractive. And one of the Hebrew words here, the graceful garland, an attractive garland. It attracts people to it. And so here's what it's telling us. He is not just saying, run away from sin. That's not all he's saying. He's saying, accept the instruction of the father and mother and become attractive in the world you live in. Become attractive. Because here's the thing, sin is going around and it is whispering the talisman in the ear. It's going around and it's saying, let me give you these things. But then the person who accepts Jesus, who accepts this instruction, they go out in the world as a contrast to the sinner. And they say, no, let me show you what's attractive. Let me show you the right way. The contrast is the honor of the parents with the honor of sin. When we wear this garland of Christ around our neck, we are supposed to demonstrate a much more attractive life than what the sinners have to offer. Come to Jesus, and I promise you, significantly more excitement. I promise it. It will be more joyous and more fun and more fulfilling than anything sin could ever offer you. And if you can't say that about your Christian life, there's a problem. Why aren't you wearing that garland? Come to Jesus, and there will be more pleasure, more true lasting joy than ever before. If you're not wearing that garland, then why not? Come to Jesus, and you will have a true companion in him and with one another. And if you can't say that, why not? Because we, with our garland, have so much more to offer than the sinner does. And we plead like the parents, this way of sin world will lead to death. And we have something way more attractive. And so here is the plea for us this morning. Let us fight against the sin in our own life, seeing it for what it truly is. Let us come to Jesus and glory, take the crown of glory that he has done for us, putting the garland over us. Let us live a life more attractive than the life of the world around us. And let us be the kind of people in the world who dismiss the counterfeit blessings and show the world what true blessings look like. Hear, my son, your father's instruction, and forsake not your mother's teaching, for they are a graceful garland for your head and pendants for your neck. My son, if sinners entice you, do not consent. If they say, come with us, let us lie in wait for blood. Let us ambush the innocent without reason. Like Sheol, let us swallow them alive, and whole like those who go down to the pit. We shall find all precious goods. We shall fill our house with plunder. Throw in your lot among us. We will have one purse. My son, do not walk in the way with them. Hold back your foot from their paths, for their feet run to evil, and they make haste to shed blood. For in vain is a net spread in the sight of any bird. But these men lie in wait for their own blood. They set an ambush for their own lives. Such are the ways of everyone who is greedy for unjust gain. It takes away the life of its possessor. Let's pray. Father, we come to you this morning just with this sober text, and we ask, Father, that you would help us to see the beauty of what is offered in Jesus Christ, that you would help us to see the glory that he has, that you would help us to be a people who wear that garland on our head and his pendant on our neck, that we would be a people who are instructed in the ways of righteousness, that we would not be enticed this week as sin comes. Let us flee from it. In Jesus' name, amen.